For the longest time, the very idea of a Greek civilization thriving deep in ancient Afghanistan, well, it sounded like a tall tale, a kind of ghost story for historians. One archaeologist, Alfred Fouché, he dedicated his life to finding proof, but he came up empty. He ended up calling the whole thing the Greco-Bactrian mirage, this beautiful, shimmering idea that just wasn't there.
But what if it wasn't a mirage? What if that shimmer on the horizon was actually the glint of gold from a very real, unbelievably rich, and brilliant lost world? The evidence that finally came to light didn't just prove Fouché wrong. Oh no, it was about to completely rewrite the history books.
And our first clue, our first piece of solid proof, isn't some dusty ruin. It's something way more spectacular. A treasure hoard so incredible it got a name of its own, the Bactrian gold. And believe me, its story is just as wild as the treasure itself.
Take a look at that number, 20,600. That's how many individual gold, silver, and ivory pieces were found. Now, this wasn't from some sprawling kingdom's treasury or a dozen different tombs. This was all from one single spot, a place called Tilia Tepe, which means the Golden Hill. Okay, so try to picture this. It's 1978. A team of Soviet-Afghan archaeologists uncover 6 pretty unassuming burial mounds. But inside, they find the remains of 5 noblewomen and 1 man, just dripping with gold. I'm talking impossibly detailed necklaces, heavy ceremonial belts, medallions, and get this, a collapsible golden crown that is just a work of art. This was more than just treasure. It was like a photograph of a lost royal court. And this is where the story turns into a modern-day thriller. See, not long after it was found, war swept through Afghanistan, and the Bactrian gold, it just disappeared. Poof. For decades, everyone thought it was lost for good, stolen, melted down, scattered to the winds. But then, in 2003, this incredible secret came out. The treasure had been secretly stashed away by a few heroic museum workers in a vault deep under the presidential palace and kept safe through all those years of chaos. Its survival is frankly a miracle.
The fact that the gold survived is amazing, but that's just the beginning. Because the real value here isn't the weight in gold, it's the stories these pieces tell. The artifacts are like a cultural Rosetta Stone, showing us that ancient Afghanistan was this incredible, buzzing crossroads for the entire ancient world.
And you can see that mix right here. On one side, you've got these purely Greek designs, right out of the world Alexander the Great created. You see little rings with the goddess Athena, her name even written in Greek. But then, right next to it, you get this completely different, fierce style of the Scythian nomads from the northern steppes, these powerful animal designs and intricate buckles. And if you look even closer, you find Chinese mirrors, Indian ivory. This place wasn't just a highway for trade, it was a total melting pot. It shows us a world where people weren't just swapping goods, they were swapping ideas, art, and even their identities. So if the gold was the portable proof, the next discovery was the smoking gun. This was the permanent, undeniable evidence that the mirage theory was completely wrong. It was a city called Ai-Khanoum. And when it was found in 1961, it changed everything. This wasn't some little fort, it was a massive, honest-to-goodness Greek city, thousands of miles from Greece.
I mean, just let that sink in for a moment. A city with a classic Greek gymnasium where athletes would train. A huge theater big enough for thousands of people to watch Greek plays. Temples to the gods. All of this over 4,000 miles away from Athens? This was it. This was the physical proof that Fouché had searched for his whole life. The mirage had finally become solid stone. So, the big question is how? How does a place so far from the centers of power become so incredibly wealthy? What was fueling these kingdoms? Well, to figure that out, we have to look away from the cities and into the land itself, into the mountains and rivers.
Long before gold was the ultimate luxury, there was blue. Lapis lazuli. This ridiculously deep blue stone was, in many parts of the ancient world, worth even more than gold. And for thousands of years, there was only one place on Earth you could find it. The mines of Badakhshan in northern Afghanistan. This was the original blue gold.
And the journey this stone took was just epic. We're talking as early as 3000 BC, this stuff was being dug out of the mountains, shipped thousands of miles across deserts and rivers, traded through the great empires of Mesopotamia, and finally, ending up in Egypt, being placed in the tomb of a pharaoh. This wasn't the Silk Road we all know about. This was a trade network that existed thousands of years before it, all running on this one amazing resource. But lapis wasn't the only resource making this region rich. There was also red metal, copper. And one of the biggest sources was a place called Mes Ainik. But here's the twist. Mes Ainik wasn't just a mine. It was a huge Buddhist city with monasteries, fortresses, and homes for thousands, all sitting right on top of a gigantic copper deposit.
And that right there creates one of the biggest heartbreaks in archaeology today. You have this priceless ancient city. We're talking 45 hectares filled with thousands of artifacts we haven't even found yet. And it's sitting on what's believed to be the second largest untapped copper deposit in the entire world. The drive to get that modern fortune puts the ancient one in terrible, terrible danger.
So, from the treasures hidden under the ground, let's now turn our eyes up and look to the sky. Because this land wasn't just a source of wealth you could carry, it was home to powerful empires that built massive statements of their power, monuments meant to awe and to last forever.
65 meters. That's roughly the height of a 20-story building. And that is the height of this incredible, lonely tower that has been standing in a remote mountain valley for more than 800 years.
This is the minaret of Jam. It was built around 1190 by the Ghurid Empire, and it's an absolute masterpiece of architecture. The whole thing is made of baked brick, and the outside is covered in these stunningly complex geometric patterns, brilliant turquoise tiles, and beautiful, swirling bands of calligraphy from the Quran. It's not just a building, it's a story told in brick and tile.
People think it was built as a victory tower, but the incredible thing is that it stands completely alone, miles from any city, in this dramatic, almost impossible-to-reach valley. It's just a surreal, breathtaking sight, a lonely sentinel that has silently watched the centuries just drift by.
But for all its beauty, for all its history, this amazing heritage, the cities, the treasures, the monuments, is now standing on a knife's edge. It's facing a whole host of modern threats that could, quite literally, wipe it off the map forever.
Let's just be blunt about the reality here. Akanad, that Greek city that proved the mirage was real, it's been systematically looted for decades. Mes Ainik, the city of red metal, it faces being completely destroyed by a massive copper mine. And the beautiful minaret of Jam, that tower to the sky, it's in imminent danger of collapsing, its foundations being eaten away by the very river that flows beside it.
And here's the final, tragic irony in all of this. The very things that made this region a cradle of civilization are now the things that are destroying it. The mineral wealth that built empires now attracts giant mining companies. The rivers that were once trade highways now threaten to wash away history. And the strategic location that made it a cultural crossroads has also, time and again, made it a battlefield. Which really brings us to a final, crucial question. This history, this heritage, it doesn't just belong to one country. It's part of all of our stories. From the Bactrian gold to the lonely minaret of Jam, these places remind us of what we're all capable of connection, of creation. And so the question that's left hanging in the air is, who's going to protect it? Who will protect our shared past?